There exists very important role of private sector, public sector, and cooperative sector for the development of any nation. The nation can be prosperous, happy, and progressive because of the important role of public sector, private sector, and the cooperative sector. Here, first of all, I'm going to describe about the role of public sector in the development process. What we should know is that, first of all, we must know that public sector means government sector. So this public sector means government bodies like the organs of government, different types of government offices, different types of public enterprises where government has more than 50% share, and different types of security organization like Nepal Army, Nepal Police, even government schools, universities, they come under the umbrella of public sector. In the development process, there is main role of public sector. So the main role of public sector are presented below. The first role that is played by public sector is it provides defense to the nation and people. It provides securities to the people and the nation. The nation exists, the people exist because of the defense mechanism of the government. There is defense ministry of defense under which there comes army force, and they manages the defense of the country. The country is secured and the country is provided security, national security by the defense ministry. That is why the public sector is very important because it provides nation and people the security that they need. And it also maintains law and order. Even the law and order is maintained, regulated by the public sector. It is not possible to defend the country by some private sector and cooperative sector. It is not possible for other entities to manage law, to draft law, to pass the bill, to make act, because these are very important things that is only done by the public sector or the government sector. So the role of public sector is very important because it creates a law, it regulates the law, it evaluates law, it amends law, it also makes constitution, and it provides defense to the nation and people. In this context, there is very significant role of public sector for the development process. By the same way, by the same way, public sector is very important because it protects the people from anti-poverty and disaster relief program. The government has different types of plans, programs, schemes that are targeted to the poor people, that are targeted to economic upliftment and development of the people who are marginalized, deprived, and downtrodden. In the country, we can find lots of people who do not have any job, who are unemployed, and who are very helpless, disabled, females, Madhesis, senior people, and the people of Karnali zone. The government always, even in the last, even in this year, in the budget, the government has downsizes the age of getting that senior citizen allowance from 70 to 68. So this is also anti-poverty program. Even the single women who's a single women widow, they also get different types of social protection facilities from the side of the government. Even the even there is free education up to class 12 in government schools. So these are the programs that are directly targeted for reducing the poverty in the context of the state or nation. So this is very important because these types of anti-poverty program cannot be managed by other sectors. That is why public sector is very important because it protects the people from anti-poverty and disaster relief program. This disaster relief program means like there is flood, earthquake, landslide, volcano eruption, different types of such disasters can be managed by government, because when there comes disasters, there is very horrendous moment. When there comes disasters, the life is too much problematic, and even public sector and corporate sector can also play a significant role. There is also role of private sector, but too much role, a very high role or very important role is played by public sector. That is why it is very important. Then public sector is very important because it creates policy of property rights, public health, and macro economy like budget, economic survey, and different types of 5-year plan, 3-year plan. It is managed by public sector. That is why public sector is very important. Similarly, public sector is important because it designs social security programs like Samajik Suraksha Bhatta, and different types of other security programs is managed by public sector. So in our context also, the social security allowance is given to those people who are helpless, who are senior, who are disabled, who have already crossed 68 years old. They got that social security programs, and different types of social protection schemes and environmental management programs. These are conducted from the side of the government. Manages wage and price. This according to the demand and supply of labor, the government manages the salary and uh, working hours, wage, okay, working hours jala, by the public sector. Then regulates the finance and economy of the nation. The finance and economy of the nation cannot be managed by other sectors. The macroeconomic frame of the nation must be managed by public sector, because there are experts in public sectors. So it is the thing that that is only one thing that is only managed by public sector. Public sector also plays significant or very pivotal role regarding the coordination between private and cooperative sectors. These are also other pillars of development. We must know that development is not that thing that is only managed by government. We are living in the 21st century. That is why in this time we cannot only depend upon the government sector. We are now in the age of globalization, marketization, liberalization. That is why there is significant role of market or private sector, important role of industries, banks and financial institution, and cooperative sector is also very important for the remote and rural areas where there is no accessibility of private and public sector. So this government or public sector, it coordinates between private and cooperative. It makes plan where private sector should work. It makes plan where cooperative sector should work. It makes plan where these three entities, all public, private, and cooperative, participate, like hydro hydropower construction, different types of those, that highway construction, different types of mega projects cannot be possible for the government to handle itself, because our country is one of the developing country. It has not been fully developed, and our government cannot imagine the development process only to be done by itself. It needs the help of private sector. It needs the help of cooperative sector. It needs the assistance of those non-government sector. That is why the coordination, not competition, not antagonism, but coordination, coexistence, and cooperation is very, very inevitable for the development of Nepal. So this can also be applied to other developing countries. So this coordination is only possible because privatization believe in competition. That's competition of businessmen and market. So there is less possibility of coordination between private and private sector. And that is why government can, because it has power. Government has authority and power. The decision that is made by government, they are like law. Law is made by parliament, we know that. Different types of other laws like rules and regulations, they are managed by government. That is why from their rules, regulations, and different types of directives, the government can control private and cooperative sectors. That is why the role of public is very, very super important than the other entities. It becomes invisible hand in capitalism, makes financial policy flexible, like taxation policy flexible, revenue policy flexible, and in this way, the government can play very important role for the economic growth and development of the nation with the coordination of private and cooperative sectors. So development is a multi-layered, multi-dimensional and trans-dimensional, interdimensional phenomenon. This development is not the property and tax only to be done by government. Development needs the coordination of different sectors. Even there can be important role of people. Even there can be important role of those people who are already in foreign country. The remittance they send can play a very, very enlarging role for the expansion of industry and market in Nepal. That is why I argue that the role of public sector is very, very important in the context of economic growth and development. But the government must be flexible. It should make such rules which can prioritize liberalization, marketization, and globalization. In the absence of these flexibility, democracy, and the rule of law, the government may step into the land of anarchy, tyranny, and other sort of very, very ruthless and undemocratic hegemonic activities. That is why it must follow the footstep of liberalization if the government wants to country prosper in the near future. These types of liberalization has even been conducted by those countries which are practicing communism, like let's take example of China, which also does these types of activities because it is too much guided by industrialization, marketization nowadays. So it is called new form of communism in China. Okay, another role of the public sector is like to maintain law and order, to draft long-term policy and plans as for the notion of sustainable development goals that are to be achieved by 2030 AD. So according to sustainable development goals, there are 17 goals, very important goals. And in order to get that goals, the government has made a plan that should be achieved by 2030. So these long-term plans of sustainable development goals, such types of plans and policies can be managed by the government or public sector. Similarly, the government sector or public sector creates policy programs and different types of facilities for the advancement, promotion, and progression of private sector. Investment management is also to be done by the private sector, and under the private sector does investment under the rules and regulation propounded by public sector to motivate private sectors to engage where the government has not reached. We know that it is impossible for the government to reach into every places. When there is no accessibility of government sector, the private sectors can play very important role. In some villages, there are some schools, boarding schools, and the government school is very far, and even there is markets, shops, private sectors. Different types of facilities are also nowadays handled by private sectors. So where government doesn't reach, there is the presence of private sector at present, because government sector cannot reach to each and every corner of the world, every corner of the nation. And where there is no accessibility of government, there is the accessibility of private sector. That is why it is very important. Private sector has played important role in market management and providing goods and services to the people in a very fast, rapid, lean and thin manner. So it is very important. Private sector is also very important for the development of nation, and that private sector must be motivated, inspired by the public sector. Otherwise, if there is demotivation to private sector, then the consequences are very horrible. To develop physical infrastructure where private sector is not motivated, yes, we know that mega projects like making highways, railways, and those airlines, these are the aspects where private sector, the amount of private sector is not sufficient. Different types of like telecom management, electricity management, it is not done by private sector because private sector doesn't have such types of large fund, and for that it is government sector which can play a significant role. Okay, to develop a role of facilitator for increasing the role of private sector in industry, so government becomes facilitator, not competitor. Okay, it becomes facilitator, helper, servant for increasing the role of private sector in industry, trade, tourism, and water activities. To generate employment program, every year government makes different types of employment like programs like Prime Minister Pradhan Mantri Employment Program Rozgar Karyakram. Okay, Prime Minister Pradhan Mantri Rozgar Karyakram, Prime Minister Employment Program, these types of employment program, Karnali Rozgar Karyakram, Karnali Employment Program. Okay, and different types of those public services like vacancies, recruitment in army, police, teachers, even that civil servant. Okay, these are the things that is managed by public sector only. And even those who don't want to join government job, they can go to foreign country for study and job through the policy that is designed by government. Okay, to distribute profit equally, government distributes the profit equally and creates policy on social justice and balanced development. To conduct coordination, monitoring, and evaluation of the development, to direct concerned agencies and local bodies to occupy and update record of development programs. In this way, there exists like service delivery is another aspect. Service delivery means providing goods and services to the people in the very effective, efficient, and transparent manner. This is to be done by government. Government does the activities of service delivery, and even it manages private sector for service delivery. Even good governance and participation, inclusive development, like in the context of Nepal also, 45% has been selected for a reservation and inclusive quotas. Female gets quotas in different types of examination like teacher service commission, public service commission, even in the parliament, uh, even in that president, if the male is president, then female will be vice president. Such types of provision has been granted by the constitution. So and who made that constitution? It is public sector that made the constitution. It is public sector which makes rules and laws. Private sector cannot make such types of laws in the context of the state, because government has legitimate, valid, and reliable power for construction of the laws, acts, rules, regulation, and so on. So that is to be managed by public sector. Participation is a guarantee in the context of Nepal. There is also inclusive commission. Different types of commissions have been designed by the public sector, and they are working how to participate the poor people who are in the margin. Participation means participant means to involve those people who were dominated, exploited, cheated, looted in the past time. For example, Dalits, they were too much hegemonized by the Brahmins, Kshatris in the past. Female were also too much dominated by the male. Male considered female is weaker in the past. Male considered female is not intelligent. Male were intelligent, female were not intelligent. They were slow. Male were supposed to be faster, female were supposed to be slower. Male is supposed to be outer going from the kitchen, and female has to be limited inside the four wall of the kitchen. Such types of tendency was there, and there was exclusion of women. They didn't participate. There was no participation because female was supposed to be a receiver and male was supposed to be giver. In that context, female were also dominated, exploited in the past, and that is why at present they have gotten 33% of quotas in different types of government services. That is why participation is necessary. Even these types of participation is necessary for those Dalits, Muslims, and other people who were dominated, exploited, deprived in the past. And macroeconomic policy is also to be managed by government, like budget, economic survey, and monetary policy. These are the things that is not managed by other sectors. These are very important things, and expert idea is needed for that, and it is managed by government. Macroeconomic policy is to be managed by government. Okay, so your government always plays the role of protector, facilitator, evaluator, coordinator, negotiator, planner, resource mobilizer. It establishes peace, order, and security in the country. By developing infrastructures, it maintains national integrity. It does supervision of private sector and NGOs to take a necessary step. It does fulfillment of the basic needs of the people. So many roles are to be played by public sector. According to the 15th plan of Nepal, it has also said that it has also juxtaposed that public sector is very important for the development. What it has said is that the public sector, it is the same thing that I copied from plan 15th plan. The public sector will play the leading role in achieving the development goals with the national vision of prosperous Nepal, happy Nepali. The public sector will formulate, implement, monitor, and regulate the necessary policies, plans, strategies, and standards to build the socialism-oriented economy. Okay, these are the things that is very important, and these are constructed and designed by the government or public sector. In this way, by these evidences, by these points, I come to the conclusion that there is very, very important role of public sector for the expansion, development, progression, promotion, enhancement, and very, very like forward moving tasks of the public sector. It has very important role. In the absence of public sector, the society will be dilapidated. There will not be proper management, and there is chances of less or underdevelopment in the absence of public sector. Thus, and therefore, there is very, very important role of private sector in the development of the country.